In this video, we're going to talk about the different types of financial aid that you can receive when you apply to college in the U.S. So there are four types of financial aid. You have grants, scholarships, federal work-study funds, and student loans. Grants and scholarships are the best type of financial aid, and that's because they don't have to be paid back. So they're essentially free money, and if you get a grant or a scholarship offered to you, you definitely want to accept it. Federal work-study funds are great as well because they're guaranteed money for you, although you have to work a part-time job in exchange for the money. But this could be a great way to meet people and to even pick up a reference. Student loans are the least attractive type of financial aid, but if you're unable to pay for your college experience through grants, scholarships, and work-study, they may be the best alternative for you to be able to go to college. So I want to talk about these different types of aids in a little bit more detail. So with grants, which are typically need-based, we have the federal Pell Grant is probably the most well-known grant. And so if your family doesn't have a lot of income, you may be eligible for a Pell Grant. And then you also have FSEOG, Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. And you may be, if you get a Pell Grant, you may also be eligible for this type of grant as well. Although it's available on a first-come, first-served basis, and not all schools participate in that program. A Teach Grant is a great grant if you can get it, if you plan on teaching, and particularly if you're interested in teaching in an area at a school that has low-income families. That there's a service requirement with the Teach Grant, so you're required to work basically in a school with low-income families for a certain number of years, and if you don't do that after you graduate, then it basically gets converted to an unsubsidized student loan. But the Teach Grant could be a great opportunity if you're willing to meet that service requirement. Also for people who, if you had a parent who died in Iraq or Afghanistan following 9/11, then you may be eligible for an Iraq and Afghanistan grant, assuming that you didn't already receive a Pell Grant. That could be an opportunity for you. And so those are all federal grants, but you also, in your particular state, let's say you live in Illinois, Missouri, Minnesota, you should check with your state to see if your state has a particular state grant that's available to college students. Or you check with your high school guidance counselor, and this will be included in your award letter when you receive it from your university. You might see that state grant. Also, the institution itself, and by institution I'm talking about the college that you're applying to, they may have a need-based grant that they award you. And then scholarships are similar to grants in that they don't need to be paid back, but scholarships is usually more merit-based, right? So it's something like you had a certain level of GPA, or maybe you're a really talented athlete, or so forth. And so you can receive scholarships from the institution, so that's from the college itself. They can award you some scholarship that they have, or you might receive outside scholarships. Maybe the American Legion or something gives you a scholarship of $500, and so you can get outside scholarships or scholarships from the school itself. Now, the Federal Work-Study Program, it's a federally funded program, but basically your job, you would get an on-campus job, and you would do that part-time. And you might think, well, hey, I can get a part-time job anyways. How is this really beneficial to me? But it's great because this part-time job is going to work around your schedule. Basically, they will schedule it around your classes and make it really convenient for you. And you're meeting other people at the school and making connections. And research has shown that people who do the Federal Work-Study Program end up having better job and life outcomes and so forth. So it's a great opportunity. Now, student loans come in several varieties. And the most popular and the best is the federal student loan. So if you can get a federal student loan, that's great. And we'll talk about the other types of loans. But federal student loans come in two varieties. You have subsidized and unsubsidized. And so subsidized student loans, basically the government is paying the interest for you while you're in school, or if you're on a grace period or in deferment or something like that. So the government is paying the interest for you while you're in school with a subsidized loan. An unsubsidized loan, when you borrow that money, it's immediately accumulating interest, and so the government is not paying the interest for you when you have an unsubsidized loan. So if you have a choice between a subsidized loan and an unsubsidized loan, you want to choose the subsidized loan. Now you can also, depending on your state may also offer student loans, although the terms of those student loans might not be as great as the federal student loans. So you want to check in and make sure you read the fine print. And then your college itself you might offer a loan. So you might be able to get institutional loans from your university. And then private loans are probably the least attractive type of loan. And you want to be careful. Basically, a private loan is you just go to any old bank, basically just gives you a loan. It's not a federal loan, so you're not going to get maybe as the best conditions. If, for example, you're unable to pay the loan, you might not have as many opportunities to restructure the loan or get a deferment or something like that. A private lender might be a little more tough on you. But in some cases, if you just absolutely have no other alternative to be able to pay for college, it might be best for you to do a private loan. But you definitely, if you do a private loan, you want to make sure you read the fine print and you don't borrow more than you'll be able to pay back.